one vital fact I would like to submit.
Hello, my friends. Hope everyone is doing well. Alright, hope everyone is doing well on this wonderful Tuesday night. Hopefully staying safe and sane. And as always, it is my honor to welcome you to the Poiema Studio podcast, my boy. My name is AJ, half of the Poiema Dynamic duo. And before we introduce our fantastic guest tonight, let me introduce my amazing co-host.
Hi, good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us, like AJ said, here at the Poiema Studio podcast. It's a great night to have a wonderful guest, and I'm very happy that you joined us today, Juan. So thank you for being here. So yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. As we mentioned, this podcast is bringing awareness to mental health, suicide prevention, but also I believe it's bringing stories or people that will inspire our community and be in a better place. And I know that you already do that, so I'm really excited to hear what you do in the community of Elgin.
Yeah, no, well, thank you guys for allowing me to be here and connect with your followers and, just making those bridges and those gaps that we have in the community. And as you guys also are aware, we are in May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so I am very happy that you guys invited me to this podcast and to be, connecting with the followers and bringing a little bit of hope, hopefully, to those who might need it right now. So, yeah.
Well,
thank you.
It's our honor, for sure, as well, to have you here.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So I met you at Sherman Hospital, and if you want to start off by saying like a little bit about yourself, like where you were born, what made Juan who he is, and what you do, and what is it that you love about your job and helping the community.
Awesome. Well, I was born in Mexico City. I came to the U.S. when I was 9 years of age.
Okay.
And then I am a DACA recipient, so I am a deferred action, person, a dreamer, what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so growing up with, seeing all this like immigration issues going on, I think that's what kind of pushed me into being more connected with my community. And so I did started, being very involved in the whole mental health field. And this started because this was interesting, I took a course for domestic violence, so how to deal with people who have suffered from that. And then from there was so much information that I received in that training that I was like, I wonder how many people realize how much help there is out there. And I started asking around, and not a lot of people knew what even domestic violence was, because unfortunately the Hispanic community, we are not very too educated in those topics, and they're very like taboo topics.
We talk about that often.
Yeah, and it was so shocking to me to realize that my community was not well informed of that. And so I started to, knocking doors and opportunities in mental agencies so that I could get more, background knowledge in regards to how to help people. I had the chance to start in a mental field. I started as they call it that administrator support, and it was pretty much do a lot of paperwork. And I was more like, I like what I'm doing, but I want to do something, seeing people, touching people, feeling what they feel and stuff like that. Yeah, they're actually part of it.
Totally understand.
And luckily, there was another agency. They gave me the opportunity to start doing therapies. They call it therapeutic mentor slash family support worker.
Wow.
So it was such an amazing opportunity for me to have that background knowledge in regards to mental health, and that's what got me into Sherman, where I met you. Because they had an opportunity as a community health worker, and that's currently what I'm doing right now in the hospital. Pretty much just providing resources to the people that come mostly in the emergency department, and we give them those resources to many of the times the people that we see there. It's people that don't know where to go or don't know how to seek help. So when I get to see those patients, it's such an amazing,
like rewarding
it's a rewarding experience. Yeah, it's a rewarding experience to know that you're making a difference for somebody. So
that's awesome.
that's how all that got me to where I am right now. So
we've actually shared our own stories of, like, I came here from Mexico as a child, but I think at 9 years of age, it must have been really challenging, right? Because I came here like a lot younger, so I think that the transition into the United States must have been a lot more easier for me. But what is it like as a 9-year-old? Because you must have been like, what, in 3rd grade, 4th grade?
I was in 4th grade, and it wasn't that hard as a kid. I think it got harder as I was growing up because as a teen you start realizing like your friends start to work, and I was undocumented.
Oh.
So
yeah.
then you're like, why can I work? You know, why can I do certain, or why can I drive? Why can I have a driver's license? So it started getting more difficulty as I was growing up.
Wow.
As a kid, you don't really realize all the things that your parents do for you. They, you know, luckily my parents were always, you know, they make sure that we didn't realize that we were not legally per se in the country. So for me, I was just a normal kid until I started growing up, and I realized, well, my friend is working, why can't I work? Or he's driving, why can't I drive? You know, so that's when it started to hit a little bit more. Those difficult times, I guess that's when
like almost like belonging or being.
Yeah.
I think
pretty much.
like your identity is also very. I guess it's a
It's
challenging
exclusionary,
time.
you know, because it's like you're not being
It
included
is.
in the society. You know, you can't work, you can't get a driver's license, so you can't really travel. You know, because that's like the mode of transportation out here, really, to get anywhere.
One of the moments that really hit me was when I was coming out of a gym, and I got pulled over by a cop, and I got arrested because I had no license, and I was
Wow.
going like I think it was like a 25 mile per hour. I was going 27 or something like that, and he pulled me over. And then because I had no driver's license, and I told him, well, I don't have a driver. He kept on questioning me like, why and why, and I'm like, you know, I felt so like, I don't even know how to describe it. I felt like he was real. The cop was just on top of me, and I ended up arrested. I'm like,
Wow.
who gets arrested for like? It
How old were
didn't
you?
make sense. I was about 17 maybe.
Oh my goodness! Wow, it
Yeah.
must have been so scary too.
It was scary. It was just something that I have not gone through it before. I never had like an actual
course.
confrontation with cops or anything like that. And while I was arrested, I'm like, I can't believe I'm arrested for
Yeah.
not having a driver's license. Like it was just, you know, it was out of the world for me. So those certain of things, it's what I feel like got me into helping other people, because I know there was more people like me out there. So. Every time I have a patient or a client who comes to the emergency room that it's undocumented, I almost feel their story, like if I'm living it with them, because I'm like, I was there, I know, and I totally get it, and so it's so like you said, it's an you know, rewarding place where I am right now, because I'm making a positive change.
And actually right now I'm just like hearing your story, and I'm really glad that we're able to share this story through our platform, because I think people are going to connect with you more, because you know, a lot of times you help people and they're like, all right, what does this person know about my life, you know? And you being so young, I mean, you look really young, and connecting with, like, you know, people in the hospital, which I know exactly who you connect with. A lot of times they might not think that you understand them, but that story is obviously very powerful, because, man, you're 17 years old in high school. It must be scary to get arrested. And like you said, you have someone, like, you know, just over you, probably not understanding where you are at all, you know?
Right.
How you're feeling.
Yeah.
It's definitely been you know, a journey living in the States as a dreamer, but you know, I've learned a lot of things. I sometimes it makes me believe or think that I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have that past, you know. And as I was telling you earlier, you know, we're talking a little bit about it, and I was mentioning to him, like, I love where I am right now, and I don't think I would have been here if I didn't live what I lived before.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's something that I think we always have to keep in mind, you know, like,
Yeah.
you are here for a reason.
Yeah, that's part of your poema, part of your epic poem.
Yeah.
Of the hero that you are in your life now. You know, because you are a hero. You are doing a lot of things for other people that, you know, a lot of people don't understand, like, why do you care about these people? So, but you had to go through those experiences to be able to, you know, even love people the way you probably have to love them, and have that empathy. So that is so wonderful that, you know, we can actually help other people that have been in our situation. I feel like it's the same way for me, helping people that are dealing with mental illness. I'm like, I know what it's like to feel the lack of support, especially like you're saying, in our families, in our communities, like Latinos, and I think minorities as a whole. We've been, you know, we've missed those opportunities in our families to have conversations that are important. The taboo, the lack of education that our parents have had to have those conversations with us. So now you're making a difference in, like when you say in the ER, in an emergency situation, you're there to save the day for some people. Like I know for myself as an interpreter, when people, like, their eyes, like, their face, how it glows when you speak their language, too.
It makes a big difference on them, to know that there's somebody out there like them to be helping them, you know. And it's already stressful enough to be in the emergency department, regardless of whatever the reason you're there. But to know that there is somebody there that understands you and you know, that gets where you're coming from, it's just a reliever for them. So I'm very blessed to be in there. As far as mental health awareness and the mental field, I feel like, you know, again, it's very uncommon for the Hispanic community to talk about it. It's almost like a secret, and it's almost like it doesn't exist. It's not
That's
something. You have depression. What's depression? Or you know,
or
you
like, be happy. Happy.
or snap out of it, or you know, and you're just like. How can I explain this? You know, it's tough. It's really tough to break the stigma, but I am very happy to meet people like you guys, you know, that are also breaking those barriers and letting people know that it exists, but there is hope.
There is hope.
And there's always a way out. There's always something to look forward to, you know, so I'm pretty lucky.
I mean, it's an honor to have you here too, another person in the journey and hopefully in the battle to help those in need, you know, because like I always say, your mind is the most powerful thing that we have, so we really need to take care of it. And it's an honor again to have somebody who's been through a lot, and it is very true that your experiences shape you, and that without those, you know, struggles and those battles, you wouldn't have the resolve and the will and also the knowledge that you have now to assist those who are going through it, you know, give those an easier time, you know. The same thing with like feeling sad and lonely on my occasions, and feeling like depressed, like those moments I hated them, but also they let me know how to relate with people who've been in those situations, you know, how to talk to them and be like, yo, I've been in your shoes, like I understand, like it's easier to connect with them, and then people feel that empathy and they feel that relation. So it's
sometimes that's all pretty much what people need. It's just empathy. I remember that, you know, at least when I was 16, I did had a couple of issues going on with myself and stuff like that, and I always wanted to have that one person. But it's hard. It's hard to trust somebody. It's hard to tell somebody. It's hard to communicate with somebody. Like, it's just hard in general. Sometimes it was even hard for me to connect with myself.
Especially like you're explaining, you probably didn't know what about yourself was really you or not growing up, you know, in a family that probably has a lot of beliefs and traditions still, like in Mexico, and our parents, you know, who I think they're very protective of our culture because they want us, you know, that they were taught that that's the best way they were taught, you know. But, you know, even like, you know, that police officer that pulled you over, he probably had no idea what you were going through, but maybe after they hear this story, some police officer out there could imagine, like, you know, what if I was that 17-year-old that, I mean, it's not your fault. It's not like you were 9 years old. They brought you here. It's not like you had a choice. And interestingly enough, I've shared this before. When I turned 15, that's when my parents are like, we're going to Mexico. We got our papers. And then I was like, what do you mean? Like, my sisters and we left to Mexico, and we were able to get, you know, our residency. So I think I was 15 years old, my freshman year of high school. So up to that point, I was like you. I never knew I was undocumented, nothing like that. But I do remember, like, there was a lot of things that we didn't do as a family that I'm like, it probably had to do with, like, you know, us not having, like, that we weren't documented, you know, the fear of getting pulled over, the fear of maybe they're going to ask for your papers somewhere. But then now that I hear you say that, I'm like, no wonder, like, I never faced those struggles, because I really had I was documented from the prime ages where you need your license, getting a job. Wow, I'm really happy that that you're here to share that.
I remember though, in my case though, I always knew that I didn't have the documents because it was not a secret for us, but I didn't thought of it as a big issue until I became a teen. And that's when I kind of sort of like, why am I different from everyone? Why can I go apply somewhere? Why can I drive? Why can I do this? Why can I do that? And believe it or not, those things do affect you at some point, level wise.
Sure. Confidence too, right?
You just feel like you don't belong, and then you just feel different, and then add that to that all the changes in your body that's happening, and your mentality, and it was a ride. But the reason that I like to do what I like to do is because I remember as a therapeutic mentor, when I started doing those therapies, I had the opportunity to meet many teens who were dealing with depression and anxiety, and somehow I could see myself in them, and I was like, I wish there was somebody there when I went through it, so I'm gonna make that person for them. I'm gonna be that person that I wanted for them. So it's very rewarding to work in that field, and to just in the human services area. It's very rewarding, but I feel we still have to do a lot of work in regards to making sure that people know that it's okay to not feel okay, and that it's okay to reach out for help, and that it's real, because I think that's where we have to start, letting people know that it's real, that it's happening, and
like having that conversation, right? Have you seen an increase of people dealing with mental illness in the last few years in the ER? Like, what are the challenges that you have seen in the community?
So there is the fear. It's there for sure, regardless of what it is. In regards to COVID, the fear is there. We're always fearing something at the beginning of the pandemic. It's because of the virus itself. Now it's because of the vaccinations. Why my brain? Why am I not? Blah blah blah. This and that, and all of that triggers your mind. You're thinking. You're constantly overthinking, and bringing a lot of anxiety to not only you but the whole family in general. So we do see a lot of people, that come through the emergency department and just feel lost, and also on the opposite side, we have people who don't reach out to the emergency department because they feel like like COVID's still out there, and so it's like a unbalanced. There's days where it's like a lot of people, then there's days when there's no people at all. I mean, there's always people in the ED, but in regards to mental health, I am actually happy that we are able to assess them in the emergency department, and
that's totally I've seen that as well, the anxiety that people are dealing with right now, especially for people that have had COVID. And then I've even had patients that ask for medicine because I don't want to be scared in case I stop breathing. And what they're really talking about is anxiety. I don't want to feel what I felt when I had COVID and couldn't breathe. Give me something because I'm scared of it, So that is another thing. Now imagine having anxiety and feeling something that you can't express it to your family because they won't understand. Right. That is so difficult. I know you have kids, right?
I have kids, yes.
So,
I have kids.
How do you think that, your experiences, how have those experiences changed you as a parent?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I always feel that as parents, we always try so that they don't go through so much trouble in life. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes they do have to. Because as I mentioned before, I wouldn't be where I am right now, and the person that I am right now, and the confidence that I have on myself right now, if it wasn't for everything that I lived. So sometimes you do, as a parent, we don't want to, but I feel like you do have to let them live their experiences, and all that you can do is advise them, and you can tell them your story, but it's not gonna be the same as them living it. And I feel that as parents, you just have to make sure that you are there 24/7. Or at least that they can reach out to you, whatever, regardless of what the situation is. Because as much as you protect them, they have their own personalities, they have their own ways of thinking, and then at some level that's good. That's what you want them to be themselves. But there is just so much that you can do as a parent. So I really hope that, as they grow up, because they're still little, but I really hope that when they grow up, and they know each of the people that care for them, their stories, and how we became who we became, that they learn from it. But at the same time, I know that they're also gonna learn from their own experiences.
Yes.
So, we can only do so much. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but hopefully it's not as hard as it was for probably us or our parents before us.
Yeah.
So.
And at least now they'll have someone they can really talk to, that they won't be judged. Because, I mean, obviously you're very open and you're going to have just different conversations with them, right?
Yeah, and I encourage people to talk to their kids. Don't be in the emergency department. I've seen people who are afraid of talking to their kids about sex, about mental health, about eating disorders or suicidal thoughts and all that stuff. I'm like, you cannot be shy about those things. You cannot just pretend that they don't exist. You cannot pretend that they're not there, because they are there.
They are there.
They are there.
Yes.
So I remember one time, now that you talked to me about being a translator, I remember one time one of the clinics, they used me as a translator. And the kid was telling the professional that he had suicidal thoughts. And then the professional wanted me to translate that to the mom. And I got so nervous because I didn't know how the mom was going to react.
Wow.
So when I told her, your son is having suicidal thoughts, that's what he wants to tell you, Mom was shocked. And she said, but how? Almost her reaction was like, if that didn't exist, like she didn't understand like why we were there, why was everything happening, and she kept on saying like, but she didn't understand it. I didn't understand how to explain it to her. I'm like, we're here for him right now, but this is what's happening. And I think those are the things that we are trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid that we get all the way to the point where they start feeling suicidal, or that parents don't know what's happening with their kids. Always I say, be open to talk to your kids, be open to let them know that unfortunately this is the world that we live in, and again it exists. And that's why I always push, especially during this month of mental health awareness, push it as much as possible to reach out to agencies, or reach out to people that also are on the same boat of, let's break the stigma and let's make a difference, because we definitely need it, especially in the Latino community.
And especially like I know the DACA recipients went through a lot of anxiety and stress, with changes that were happening politically. That there was this fear of being sent back to a country that a lot of people have no connection to anymore. There's no family over there.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because I went through it. I remember that I was working and they called me from HR, not at the hospital, at a different place, but they were like, we are no longer gonna have you working because your permit is about to expire and you cannot renew it because of the past presidency. And I just got shocked. I started panicking. I did end up crying because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I do have my kids, I have this, I have that, and it was a struggle. It was a lot of anxiety. It was a lot of wondering about how am I gonna do, what am I gonna do, and luckily after a couple of months things got solved, and we went back on track. But those couple of months, they were hell for me. They were just constantly thinking about what am I gonna do if I don't get my permit back, all those things. So it's a struggle. But
so what did you do to cope with those
I
months?
am a fanatic of the arts. I love painting, I love dancing, I love singing, I'm trying to learn to play the guitar.
You came to the right place.
You are here. This is your home.
All right.
This is it.
And a lot of that helped me, and luckily I was already in that mental field environment, so a lot of or many of the therapists that I had relationships with, they were very nice and kind to give me like support and telling me, you can do this for self-care, exercise, go watch a movie, forget about a problem right now. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need to space out and just focus on a movie.
It's kind of like refreshing.
Because
it's less thought power. It's less work. You just kind of take your time away. You put yourself somewhere else for a little bit.
And it's necessary. I think it's just
very much so. self-care.
Self-care.
Like,
Self-care.
definitely. Like, you always have to make sure you're okay. Like, even if it's for a little bit, you got to take time out of your day to make sure, like, you're good. Have a coffee or something, you know, like,
15
read a
minutes.
book, whatever you enjoy, you know, even if it's,
Right.
like, doodling just for a little bit, like, something that makes you happy, you know, and that gives you
Right,
just a little
right.
bit of joy.
Yeah.
Just, it's always that little recharge that you need during the day to kind of keep moving forward. And I think that's really good that you did that.
That's true. I mean, sometimes we forget that in order to help somebody, we have to help ourselves
Of course.
first.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like to do, at least in the mornings, is wake up and do at least 15 or 20 minutes of any exercise. It could be like weightlifting or cardio or running, whatever it is, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the hospital where I need to help people, and I cannot help them if I don't help myself
Yeah.
first.
There you
So
go.
Yeah.
I always have to, keep reminding myself of that, and it is a working process.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course.
I still go to my ups and downs every now and then, and
Yes.
and it's just a constantly reminder of okay,
I'm glad you admit that though, because it's always again being in this position as well, like helping people. It's always you have that kind of sense of like I have to be strong for these people, and I'm going through my own thing. But it's always good to admit as well. It's like we're not perfect, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody's a work in progress. We all need help. Like I admit that I still go to counseling, you know, to help myself out. You know, like I need that self-care because there's no way I'm gonna be able to help everybody else if I don't help myself. You know,
Yeah.
and try to understand myself.
Right.
Because the whole point of this, like, feel like my business of working with people is to understand
To
them,
understand,
and
right.
then have them understand themselves as well, and be like, it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Your
Right.
emotions are valid.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. It's just that self-care. So I love that.
I always share this all the time. I'm like, I wish we can all have a therapist,
Yeah.
regardless if you need or not. I wish we all just had somewhere to go talk to in a daily basis.
I've
and
said it
just-
several times on like I think different episodes where like I want to advocate for schools to have therapy and counseling.
Yeah.
Like it's not even have to be where it's straight up questions, but it's more like a one-on-one thing where like kids get to talk to
Can
somebody,
express, yeah.
and it's more like it's personal. You know, they get to express because I don't think kids get that sometimes. It's like they go to school and then they're taught
Yeah.
things.
And they
And
went
I
through
think-
so
Yeah.
many things.
And they go through
So
so
many
much,
things.
and sometimes they need that guiding hand from somebody else. You know,
Right.
sometimes their family can't provide that.
Yeah.
So I think
No,
I
and
think everybody
sometimes-
needs it. Even if their family does provide that, sometimes they do need that assistance.
Yeah, and sometimes like you were saying, you dealing with what you were dealing with in those months. I'm sure the way you were, reacting to everything in your life, including your children, was different because
Yeah.
you're stressed out. You're going through a lot, and then you're
Right,
like,
right.
how am I going to provide? What will I do if I can't be in this country anymore? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and so now you have to give from a place, probably an empty place, and that's difficult too. So I agree with AJ. I think always like in high school and like the younger years, if you went to
Especially-
the counselor, it was like, oh, you're gonna go to the counselor. They made you feel like bad for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You had to like be walked to the office with someone, and so that's
Exactly.
another thing too. Like, why don't we make counselors like more like, hey, like you got a friend to talk to,
Mhm.
like you
Right.
got someone to talk to,
Right.
not so much
Yep.
like, oh, we gotta send them to the counselor's office,
Exactly.
like a scary place.
Like I always
So-
feel stigmatized to say it, but now that like I've grown into myself and realized that that's important.
Yeah.
Like I think everybody
And I
needs
think it's
it.
a pretty great idea. I mean, it would be the
Yeah.
the earlier that we can.
The developmental stages, because that's where you
Yeah.
really need to catch it,
Right,
because
right.
when it's older, it's harder to stop because it's already been ingrained in your body and your mind that like
Mhm.
to think this way, like we talk about the subconscious mind. Like as a child, you just constantly are thinking the same thoughts or hearing maybe something abusive from your family, you know?
Right.
And
A learning behavior.
Exactly, and then
Yes.
it affects your personality when you get older. So if we
Yeah.
catch it early and we help kids through the trauma, and show them ways to get out of it, you
Right.
know, and to escape and hopefully, better themselves,
Yeah.
then I feel like we can
Yeah.
improve as a society.
Or even teach them tools like the arts, I think,
Exactly.
and that's another thing that a lot of art programs are not being funded and they're being taken away because they don't seem as important as other subjects in school. And I think that we need those things. We need to teach the children tools. Like, what got you into the arts?
I think I was born with it.
Yeah.
I honestly feel
Yeah.
that's one of those things that you just like because you were born with it. But it has definitely helped me a lot into overcoming certain situations, especially when it comes into depression and anxiety. But yeah, I think I always like to dance. I always like to sing and
we can't wait to have you at one
Be
of our parties.
expressive.
yeah.
One of our events,
Yeah.
we held an event recently, like karaoke and dancing, so you definitely
And
have
it's
to come
actually
through.
a reliever, you know, to
It is.
That's
spread
the
it
point.
out, to let it out,
Exactly.
and
have like a safe environment,
Yeah,
around nice people,
definitely.
and just enjoy the time and it being the moment of like, wow, I'm alive with people and we're
Exactly.
all
Yeah, you feel
enjoying the
alive.
space.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're enjoying the same music, the same air.
right,
Like
right,
that's
right.
a beautiful
Or
thing.
sometimes you judge people because you're like, I don't think that they're gonna like my type of music, and then you hear someone request a song, you're like, that's my
That's the
song.
one I like.
Yeah.
Those connections are
And then you
amazing.
got the one person who said they're gonna sing it is like, now they got like backup singers and backup dancers. It's like the human connection. We're all like
Right,
seeking
right.
that.
And then sometimes you meet people you never thought you would meet. You make connections that you never thought possible. Like you,
Right.
Yeah.
and then you learn things as well. I think that's more important than anything else. You learn from other people because we all see the world in our own ways. We're all unique in the way we see the world. Nobody's ever gonna envision it the way you've envisioned it.
Right.
So I think it's beautiful that you get to connect with people and get a peek into other worlds, into other perspectives, and then
Right.
hopefully maybe it changes you for the better.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. It's very important to. I always say, like, when the pandemic started and they wanted us to socialize, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so hard because I feel like humans, we were meant to socialize, you
We
know,
are.
we were
Yes,
meant
yes.
to get to know each other. Of course, I understand the reason why not to, but
Yeah.
I'm like, this is gonna be so hard.
And it has been, and I think that, when we're talking about children, I think that's another thing that we have not realized how much it's affected children already. And they are, like, I feel like there's a lot that we're missing right now because we've been so worried about remote teaching and, Zoom and, like, all these issues that are technology and all that. And these kids just have to adjust and accommodate to adults, I think there's a lot of, like, emotional awareness that isn't being done with a lot of children and youth. And so again, I really, really admire your work and your connection that you have with people. I remember you started sending these really cool emails. Like, I could just tell you were passionate about the work you were doing,
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate you sharing such vulnerable parts of yourself, sharing that you are a DACA recipient, because so many people are like, oh, you're a DACA recipient. They feel afraid, like they gotta hide that.
Right,
And it's your
right,
truth, it's your story, and that
Right.
is, very, very valuable. So one of the things that we ask our podcast guests is like, what would you say to that younger self? Which I think is interesting that you've already been saying, like, I already wish I had that person. We already know you do what you wish you would have had in someone, but if you had to give youth or, maybe someone at 9 years old or maybe someone that is dealing with your situation at 15, 17, what would be that advice, that piece of advice that really, like, resonates with you right now?
Well, I'm gonna keep it simple. I have thought about that before. I'm like, what would I tell myself, my younger self? And I said it. It's simple. Like, move on, keep going, keep going, because you'll get far. Sometimes we get stuck in this little bubble and we overthink and make all these crazy ideas and we overthink and sometimes you just have to, like, burst the bubble, and get out of the comfort zone and move on.
I like that.
And I think that until you do that, until you burst that bubble or pop that bubble, you will get to know what life is all about. And if you're stuck in there, you're never gonna be able to realize what's out there. And you might be the one who will make a change in this world, either by, I don't know, finding the cure to cancer, or you never know what the future's holding for you. So you have to burst the bubble, get that comfort zone, and as I've learned, life is made of cycles. So you just have to let that cycle finish, start another one, keep going and keep going and keep going. So don't get stuck in there. Just
Don't
keep,
get stuck.
keep
And
going.
I think that I think part of your what you just shared right now too was, I heard you say opportunities. Like you said, I started here and then I saw that I really like this and then I went here and this agency gave me the opportunity. And there are opportunities out there, except for sometimes that bubble or that fear allows us to not take those opportunities,
Yeah.
So grab onto those opportunities like you have, and now here you are, doing such great things for the community. So do you see yourself staying in the ER, working as a community health care worker, or where do you see yourself in the future?
I like what I'm doing right now. I am also very involved to the whole mental health advocation and stuff like that, just being out there. Recently we opened a resource page called Info Plus. You guys can find it on Facebook if you search Info Illy for Illinois.
Oh, okay.
And this is an education website that we have where we provide resources, community resources for our followers. And right now we are doing, taking advantage of the whole Mental Health Awareness Month. We are doing a campaign called Your Mind Matters. And so we reached out to a couple of agencies out there to, give us information, give us events, give us anything that you have related to mental health so that we can share it with our followers.
That's
and
awesome.
It's going pretty well. This is our third year, I believe, that we are,
that's so
doing
cool.
stuff like that. And we've been very lucky to have agencies that have, responded and have given us
awesome.
events
That's
and
amazing.
resources. So,
Yeah.
our goal is just to make sure, our goal is just to create healthier communities, because I do honestly believe that if we are able to provide proper education, we'll leave this planet a better place for future generations.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I feel that that's very important. We have to start somewhere, and someone has to start it. And I'm so glad that you guys are doing what you're doing,
Thank you.
because it makes a difference. It really does make a difference. And it's harder now to be knocking doors,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you find people that are also on the same, approach or the same fight per se,
Yeah, same cause.
it's amazing. So
Yeah.
so thank you guys for doing what you
No,
do.
no,
with
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
that.
and we'll share those resources as well through this
We have
platform. I think that is great, like connecting those services, because like you said, sometimes the services are there, people don't know where to find them. And so you are doing an awesome job, apart from just, you could be sitting behind a desk in the yard and just saying, come to me, I gotta see you anyway. But I could definitely tell that you're thinking out of the box. You're like,
Yeah.
how could we get to those people out there? And like I've said before in other episodes, I think education is the best prevention.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because if you can educate, or first the awareness, like this is what's happening, and then the education, and then that will allow people to not get to the extreme crisis situations where, a lot of times it ends in sad stories of someone taking their life when all they ever needed was someone to be able to talk to, maybe that resource they never knew was there, a community health care worker that was able to give a resource that maybe was not connected,
Right,
so
right.
it's bridging the gaps.
That's what I always tell them, like, I'm really happy to have met you, but I hope I don't see you again in the ER. Here's the information. It's
Yes.
out there. Sometimes we just don't know, or again, the lack of education and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So we are hoping to fill those gaps and to connect people where they have to go. We don't represent any agency. We do this just with the intention of help, and with the intention of providing those resources out to the people.
Yeah.
Again, this has been our third year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm like thinking about it. But throughout this couple of years, we have also supported a couple of fundraisings. We do the Relay for Life from the American Cancer Society. So this is our third year supporting that. Last year we started our own Kids Against Leukemia initiative. So that's something that I look forward.
When is that?
That's usually in September.
Okay,
So
cool.
we might prepare for that.
Yeah,
in
keep us
September.
on the
keep us
loop. We would
informed.
be more than
Yeah,
happy to.
definitely.
From the bottom of my
support.
heart, from the bottom of, I'm pretty sure from everybody's heart, thank you so
Yes.
much. Like, we need more people in the community giving resources, because like you said, it's the lack of education and knowledge, and some people are just scared to go look and feel like what they feel is something that made up, because I always felt that at an occasion where like I thought, am I making this up,
Right.
because in our
Yeah.
community it's a lot of like, oh, stop,
Right.
you're doing this to
Right.
yourself, but
Right.
Yeah.
but honestly, we need to get that knowledge to people that it's like it's not just yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
deeper than that.
That's
So
why making awareness is so important.
Yes.
Exactly.
We have to let people know that those are things that are real, and then
Mhm.
once they realize that they're real, now we go with the education part, and let's
Yes.
Exactly.
fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
So.
You know, like that quote by Aristotle that says, education of the mind without education of the heart is no education at all. And sometimes people need to be touched in that, you know, in their hearts. And I think people hearing your story are totally going to be connected with your heart. Thank you for opening up your heart in this podcast and this platform, because I think you truly are making a difference.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
so-
that's the goal, and we
Yeah.
appreciate, you know, having the opportunity to talk to you guys, so that we are more connected and we make
Yeah.
a better planet.
Yes.
I hope we can work more together in the future
Yes,
as well.
yes, definitely,
I'm
yes.
super excited to just,
Yeah.
like you said, help this planet become better. Well, I'm kind of sad, you know. I feel like we could talk forever, like all day. Like I'm ready to keep going till like tomorrow. I'm looking at my wrist. I don't even have a watch. Oh Lord!
Let's keep
But
going. Let's keep going.
again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to you, Juan.
No, thank you guys
for coming
I
out.
appreciate it so much.
Thank you for spending your time with us. Please remember to like, comment, share, and if this is on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. There's a notification bell right on the side so you know
Yeah.
when we post.
Yeah, my
Thank
son's
you.
like, don't forget to smash that subscribe
Oh
button.
yeah, we should say it like that. I think that's way. We're gonna become professional YouTubers one day. I promise. We're super good at this.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful night. Thank you, Juan, and
Yes.
you know, welcome to Poiema Studio.
To the family.
Yeah.
To welcome to the family. Yeah, yeah, for sure. So thank you again. Everyone have a great night. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
And
baby.
don't forget, thank you, One Source Productions, for allowing us to share this message with the community. You hear me? All right. Well, thank you, and have a great night.
There is one vital fact I would like to submit.
Focus on the sound, and then it's just like it helps you concentrate. Like just like everything else disappears. It's just that noise,
Just a nice.
and then all of a sudden, just,
Interesting.
you feel like you fall into.
Can't wait to be her friend.
Dude, he's just piling.